between Ferrari and Red Bull meant McLaren benefited. But who was to blame and what does this mean for the future races? We'll tell you more on the show. And what is it with football legends and great comebacks? Lionel Messi scripts a fabulous comeback for his MLS side Inter Miami. Has he shut all talks of his impending retirement? And of course, we are speaking of success and sacrifices of cricketers on the field quite often. But what about their spouses, their better halves? What all have they endured and bear for the partners and the cricketers to become world champions? We bring you an exclusive chat with a few of prominent wives from the circuit. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. Starting with football and La Liga, England midfielder Conor Gallagher scored his first goal for his new club Atletico Madrid as they beat Valencia 3-0. Gallagher opened the scoring. Of course, Antoine Griezmann and Julian Alvarez scored the other two goals. Over in Premier League and the North London derby, Arsenal continued their winning run against Tottenham Hotspurs. The Gunners beat Hotspurs 1-0 to register their third successive away win against Tottenham, a feat they achieved for the very first time in 26 years. Gabriel Magalhaes scored the only goal of the match. Over in tennis, Team Canada have entered the quarterfinals of the Davis Cup. They beat Britain 2-1. Canada's Denis Shapovalov was key to their victory. He beat Dan Evans 6-love, 7-5 in match 1. Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime beat British sensation Jack Draper. Britain could only manage to win the doubles tie. It was not enough. And Formula 2 Indian racer Kush Maini, who was racing at Baku, was involved in a car crash. His car encountered an engine problem, causing it to unexpectedly stall at the start of the race. This led to a major collision with other racers. The rear of Maini's car was completely destroyed. Wrapping up the headlines with news from athletics, Indian javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra revealed he competed in the Diamond League final with an injury. He admitted playing with a fractured hand and finished second. Chopra threw 87.86 meters, just as impressive, but 1 centimeter behind the eventual champion Grenada's Anderson Peters, who won with 87.87. Germany's Julian Weber took third place. The Azerbaijan 2024 Grand Prix will be remembered for bringing the much-awaited change in Formula One paddocks, a change that saw McLaren knock off Red Bull from the perch, a result that will make the remaining Formula One season so much more exciting and competitive, because at stake isn't just the Drivers' Championship for Red Bull, but also the Constructors' Championship that seems to be slowly slipping away. Max Verstappen may be holding the number 1 position in the drivers' standings, but McLaren has managed to rewrite the team standings last night. Oscar Piastri's win and Lando Norris's 4th place finish saw McLaren go 20 points clear of Red Bull in the constructor standings, and Charles Leclerc's 2nd place finish helped Ferrari close the gap with Red Bull too. So Red Bull is facing the heat from all sides now. But it wasn't Piastri's win alone that saw this change in the standings. Red Bull's slip to the 2nd place was because of a massive crash at the Azerbaijan circuit. The crash involved Ferrari and Red Bull, became the talk of the race, which ended up benefiting, McLaren. Now, it would be safe to compare the Azerbaijan Grand Prix to trading in the stock market. I'll explain. In the penultimate 51st lap, McLaren's Oscar Piastri had the Baku circuit in the bag. Behind him were Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc and Red Bull's Sergio Perez, who were competing for the 2nd and 3rd places. 3 buyers eyeing 2 shares. But Leclerc managed to go ahead and secure the 2nd spot at the podium. So that meant 2 buyers were left with 1 position up for grabs, Sainz and Perez. And at stake, of course, that 3rd spot, and we say the only priced share available on the exchange, going by the analogy we're making here. And in the greed and the need of grabbing that, the two drivers went at it, giving it everything they had. But instead of winning the bid for the third spot, both drivers ended up losing even the few points they could have gained from finishing the race, resulting in a heavy loss, just like it happens in trading. Neither of them finished third, but ended up getting disqualified because of that collision. So who will the two teams blame for this crash, Sainz or Perez? The internet seems to be divided on the matter. The blame game continued even outside social media networks between the two teams themselves. A livid Perez called Sainz an idiot on the team radio and after the race blamed the Ferrari driver squarely for that crash.
It's a disaster for the championship. In my opinion, Carlos moved too quickly to follow the tow from Charles.
Now, that crash not only cost Red Bull the top spot in the constructors' standings, but Perez also lost a chance to finish on the podium, something he's failed to do since April at the Chinese Grand Prix. So we can tell how much he badly wanted that podium finish. But it isn't just Perez who's blaming Sainz. Red Bull principal Christian Horner has also questioned Sainz's approach.
I was just looking at the replay and you can see Carlos start to drift across the circuit. So, very disappointing. He should at very least have been on the podium today.
Quite a normal reaction from a team principal who seems to be losing his plot, especially this year. More than Perez, it's Horner who needs a successful season to prove and solidify his position at Red Bull, especially after the year that it has been for him. It started with Horner coming under spotlight for misbehaving towards a female employee. Of course, we've dealt with that saga quite extensively here on Firstpost. Horner may have been cleared of all charges, but ever since that episode, Red Bull's fortunes haven't really been rainbow-like. The chaos in the team has impacted their performances drastically. Now, they aren't the same dominant Red Bull that they were last year or even the year before. So if they end up losing the Constructors' Championships, all fingers will most likely point to an already under fire Horner. But unfortunately for him, neither drivers faced any sanctions. The stewards just gave Sainz and Perez a warning as neither of them crashed into each other intentionally. And even the replays, Horner is pointing out, does not make Sainz the guilty party. You can see the two drivers trying to grab that third position, jostling for it. And if you see carefully, Sainz was ahead of Perez. So he was blindsided there. He couldn't really see Perez trying to overtake. And the speed at which both the drivers were moving made it all the more difficult for Sainz to gain some control. And while Perez was trying to overtake Sainz, Sainz did a minor maneuver, which every driver does to prevent the overtaking. So if anyone should be blamed for the crash, it should be Perez, because Perez was overtaking Sainz. He had a lot of space on his left. Perez could have avoided the crash had he been just a little bit more mindful. Maybe Red Bull is just being aggressive by dishing the blame instead of taking ownership for the crash.
I didn't do any erratic maneuvers, any aggressive moving on Checo or anything like that, and for some reason that I don't understand still, we collided and that was the end. It was just wrong time, wrong moment, and it resulted in a huge shunt.
The massive difference in the statements from both these teams does require some attention. While Red Bull blamed Sainz for the crash, Sainz just decided to call it a wrong move. He didn't feel the need to put the blame on Sergio Perez technically, which was the right thing to do, because both of them were going for that podium finish, so it was all at stake. They both were aggressive in their approach and paid the price for it. Which brings us to the main point. If Red Bull wants to stay in the hunt and stay in the lead for that Constructors' Championship, get back there, instead of playing the blame game, they do well to start winning. Sure, the crash did end up costing them a few points, but this isn't something that is pushing them down in the standings. It's their failure to finish on the podium and get their act together that is. Not just Perez, but Verstappen too. And if that continues to happen, we might as well see McLaren capitalize not just in Constructors' Championship but also in the drivers. Lionel Messi made his much-awaited comeback to professional football after a 2-month hiatus. The Argentine featured in Inter Miami's 3-1 win over Philadelphia, 62 days after he suffered an injury during the Copa America final. Now, the comeback was also Messi's first appearance in MLS after 3 months, and while many expected Messi to take it easy, it seemed like he probably heard that. The Inter Miami captain started from where he left off. There was enough steam in there. He scored twice and assisted once as Florida witnessed Messi magic unfold once more. And the Argentine played a full 90 minutes with the match even in Inter Miami's grasp, discarding all possible chatter around his retirement. What's the secret to his longevity? Take a look.
Form is temporary, but class is permanent. This is often heard in professional sport. But if we talk about Lionel Messi, it feels like even the form is permanent and there is never a doubt about the class. The Inter Miami game against Philadelphia is a living example of it. Despite staying away from professional football for 2 months, Messi picked up right where he left off. He scored a brace and assisted Luis Suarez in the 8th minute of injury time, cementing Inter Miami's 3-1 win. The duo still have the hunger to score and win matches in style. Messi and Suarez rolled back the clock from their Barcelona days. They made it look like nothing had changed since 2020. The same passion, the same energy, and the same Messi-Suarez bonhomie. Even the fans were left mesmerized. Messi gave out a strong message to the rest of the MLS teams that he may have been out for a while, but he is back to clinch his throne.
I was really looking forward to playing again after so much time. We know the team we have, we are deservedly in the first place.
Even at 37, Messi continues to display the same mentality he had when he first entered the field as a teenager. In his 21 years, the footballer has played under seniors, but has groomed young talents too. Over the years, he has played with some of the finest and many first-timers. Yesterday's game saw the same. Messi played against a 14-year-old. Somebody who wasn't even born when Messi was ruling Europe. The Philadelphia Union wonder kid Kevin Sullivan went up against Messi. Just to give some perspective, Sullivan was born on September 28 in 2009. A day before, Messi scored the 100th goal of his career. In all these years, the longevity of Messi's career is a reminder that from young to old, the Argentine forward has never slowed down. He was there when legends like Ronaldinho ruled football for Barcelona. Messi is still here with the young generation taking over, like Lamine Yamal at Barcelona. And in between this, Messi has continued to hold the same zeal, the same hunger and the same desire to continuously win trophies.
It's mentality, fight, sacrifice, always wanting more. I was like that from a very young age. I was responsible and was sure of what I wanted. I always gave my best to accomplish the most. It didn't always happen, but I stayed focused on that mentality and the desire to always outperform myself. I was lucky with injuries.
Just 2 months ago, Messi clinched the Copa America title. In the past 2 years itself, he won the World Cup and the Ballon d'Or. And this just his last 2 years. Messi's career is laden with such trophies. But in that massive trophy cabinet, there is still one laurel missing, with his new club Inter Miami. That is enough reason for Messi to continue fighting. And in turn, brush aside all the rumors about his retirement. Because if time has taught us anything, it's the fact that Lionel Messi is hungry. He isn't going anywhere. And who knows, given the way he's scoring goals, the way he's outperforming, and the World Cup just less than 2 years away, we might see the Argentine come out to win his first MLS trophy while also defending the World Cup title.
We at Network 18 held a mega event today in India's capital, Delhi, called Shri Shakti, the power of women, reflecting on the success stories of women voices across various fields and roles. And one of the sessions was around the Shakti behind the male cricketers, Suresh Raina and Cheteshwar Pujara in particular. We sat down for a chat with the Shaktis, or the powers behind these cricketers, to bring out their sacrifices, their struggles, and how they've been working behind the scenes, toiling hard in ensuring that their counterparts could build powerful narratives on the field. Here's an excerpt from that conversation. For everyone gathered here, very, very good afternoon. Now, there are things that are known, and then, of course, there are things that are unknown, and in between that lies the doors of perception. So said Aldous Huxley, but I want to take this a little further, and the reason why we're talking about perceptions today is because of the way people perceive truth. And I say the perception, or where you believe or you perceive the truth to be, depends on which side of the doors that you walk into. When you speak about international cricketers, and Indian cricketers in particular, you have this celebrity status, you speak about how glamorous it is, especially when it extends to their families, their partners, their spouses here. And everyone looks at how it will be perfect, picture perfect, savvy, social media. Oh, it's all so easy. Not messy one bit. We're here to break those myths here today. And I've got two remarkable ladies whom I've had the privilege of knowing over the last few years to join me and make this conversation more enlightening. Because in all the years, we always talk about the success and the struggles of the cricketers, but it's time to talk about the Shakti behind all of that. I'm really honored to be joined by Priyanka, Chaudhary, Raina, and Puja, Pabari. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Rupha.
All right. First off, I have to sort of ask you, how many times have you heard this, or probably even being mentioned to you? It's all so glamorous. Bahut easy. It's fun. You want to go?
Okay. So usually when you think of a cricketer's wife, you think, oh, they travel, they just live the best life, and they enjoy, they have it all. Little is the known fact that cricketers live a very disciplined life, and the family has to follow. You may initially just try to be there, but eventually you understand the importance of the discipline, and you kind of want to grow with that. So yeah, so it just looks glamorous on the outside, but it's just hard work and and sweat and everything in between.
Priyanka.
I think for the right reasons they have this kind of perception, because thanks to social media, the kind of perception we give to the world is that we are traveling, we are lunching, we're dining out, and we're doing the best things with our kids, because we tend to share only the good parts, right? And we are so socially active all the time, giving these kinds of updates about our life. So for right reasons, that's the kind of perception usually people have. But trust me, our household is as normal as anybody else, I think, in this room. And we have similar kind of struggles, similar kind of challenges to deal with every day. So yes, it happens a lot.
Before we go to the next question, I obviously want to say there's a bit of a surprise, not just for the ladies here, but for all of you gathered here. We'll come to that in a bit. But if I have to just ask my obvious question to dig deep right at the start. They say it takes a village to raise a child. I'd say the same for a champion, and also to sort of mold yourself into being one. I mean, it's very difficult to have the success stories of a World Cup winner and a maverick in the shorter format like Suresh Raina, or a Test Championship finalist and one of the legacies and legends of the longer format of the country, Cheteshwar Pujara. It's not easy. It takes a lot of sacrifices for them to get here. Let's listen to yours.
You go ahead.
So I wouldn't call it like a sacrifice, to be honest, because we are one family unit, and our common goal and objective is to make a home which is full of love, of course, full of love, discipline, and of course giving a good future to our children, right? That's the sole and common objective we have. So what I would really say that a lot of cooperation is required. I really have a lot of respect for all the hard work these guys put in, and they, as Puja said, they have to have a lot of discipline, a lot of travel is involved. So while we sometimes have to be on the back foot with our things, because their things have to take priority, at the same time they're also sacrificing a lot, because it's not easy to travel for months, not to see children, not to be at home. So that also takes a lot of toll on them. So it's all about being there for each other, being supportive. So we make sure that we organize things well, that when they need us, we're right there, because while they're playing such tournaments, they have to be emotionally and mentally very strong. So at that time, I think as a partner, it becomes very essential that they're mentally free.
Puja, any instances that you can recollect which sort of helps us understand this better?
Yeah, of course. Lots and lots, actually. But there are so many sacrifices that, a family, of the cricketer, not just the partner, but the family of the cricketer has to make. And it is a choice. It is not like imposed, or it is not, told to you, but it's a choice, because at some stage I believe one has to understand and take a step back in order for the other one to flourish, and you will have your time, and that is when you can flourish, and your partner will be cheering you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely well said there, and that gives me the perfect intrusion in some sense to show a little something to both of you. It's a special message. I tried to build the surprise as much as I could. So if I could ask my team to play out the messages that we have, let's hear it, please.
Hi Priyanka, this is a special shout out to you. Thank you for coming in my life and being a great anchor. You have truly helped me succeed in my professional space. And our family, our home is a wonderful place, and you have played a big part in keeping it that way. You have done really well as a professional entrepreneur. You have succeeded in Mate. You have grown up looking after your NGO, Raina Foundation. This is recognized the Shakti's our society, and you have done really well. And Shri Shakti event is gonna be amazing for you as well as for others. All the best to everyone.
Hi Puja. For a change, it's good to be on this side of the fence, with you taking center stage in front of the media and me taking care of Aditi and the home in your absence. Jokes aside, I'm grateful to you for being the anchor in my life and at home. Looking after so many things, from taking care of Aditi, my dad, and managing the household stuff. Apart from all this, you have managed my commercial and financial matters as well. And you have done it so seamlessly, allowing me to focus on my game and career all these years. Thank you for all you have done so far. Enjoy the session and see you at home soon.
The operative word is soon. We can't be away for too long. But that brings me into a very nice, interesting subject. We all talk about equal parenting. We know there is no such thing, let's be honest. But we want to hear it from you ladies, because I have a few. In fact, the one reason why we wanted to have this conversation and we needed to have this sort of conversation is, during the time when we were with Chennai Super Kings, I remember Aditi, Puja and Cheteshwar's daughter saying, in school there was a teacher who asked, okay, what do our parents do? And she said, my dad plays, my mom works. So I want to know how much of an impact that you've had, and similarly with Priyanka as well. There was a shoot we did with Priyanka and Suresh, and both the kids, Rio and Gracia, were there, and they just automatically gravitated towards whatever it is that Priyanka was saying, and everything that she said really mattered. So how important has that been, and what kind of a responsibility have you shouldered in that regard?
See, it's a huge responsibility, right? Like parenting a child. Even if you both as a couple, you are doing a 9 to 6 job or in any work per se, parenting is a huge responsibility on its own. Now, imagine, like your partner is away for like 6-7 months a year or 8 months a year, and you have to be, you're doing the double parenting single-handedly. Like there's a lot of scrutiny over cricketers' lives, right? So, and children, knowingly, unknowingly, also get to hear about it. So, while, so see, as a parent, you have to really, like pull up your socks and, you explain the right things to your children and, give them the right information and the right window for them to grow.
How difficult is that part of the roles that you end up playing, Priyanka, trying to be two parents instead of one?
I think children are very smart these days. So I cannot just simply be there and say, okay, dad is not here, so, I'm going to be replacing him or something. They really know what they need from each parent. They're very, very smart. When it comes to anything where they seek any sort of security or any cuddles, they know they're not going to reach out to moms. And when it's fun times, then it's always fathers. We are the bad cops, no matter what. And we really make sure that whenever he's around or I'm not traveling, that we give these beautiful moments to our children. They cherish them, and we be there for each other.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us.
Time for Last Serve. We're ending the show with pictures from the Free Dive World Championships. This took place at the Mediterranean Sea near the French island Corsica. Russia's Alexei Molchanov, with a 125-meter dive, set a new free dive world record. In fact, he broke his very own record that he set last year. Take a look. That wraps up Firstpost here today. Thanks for tuning in. I'll of course meet you again tomorrow with more fresh perspectives from the world of sports. But till then, take care. Bye-bye.